I want to explain, first of all, before I go any further, I bet you these three students were focusing on this in their project, but the one question they would want to think is, what is autism? Because there's actually not just one definition, there's more than that. There's actually 3 different definitions. The first main definition about it is it's a treatable neurological spectrum disorder, and it affects between people of all ages alone, everywhere in British Columbia. And most people that have autism see differently than other people, like everything around it in the environment, and that's one reason why I was diagnosed with autism. And most people will also have problems learning different subjects anywhere. And that's my other reason why I got diagnosed with autism. And people with thought that you meet that has autism may have that similar issue. Some people have other disorders that have it. And if you think about it, have you guys heard of this classroom called Skills for Life? Yeah, your school has it. I've been in that classroom before last school year. And Skills for Life, there's actually lots of different things that Skills for Life does that you guys don't in the school. And for example, those students, they don't have enough time to learn what you guys are doing. Social justice, social studies, and all these, and physical education, they may not understand learning sports and all that. I had difficulty with that too, learning all these sports and learning mathematics. I'm sorry for those who love math, but I'm not a professional at mathematics. And if you've ever seen kids, the Skills for Life kids, go around the school doing recycling, that's one thing too, because the reason why you've seen the Skills for Life class always do it is, for the main reason is, when they grow up and move out in the future, they're gonna need to learn that stuff. They're gonna need to learn to do their recycling, do all their chores for dinner, after a dinner or something, or a special event. And those people don't understand it much. So if they do it every single week and keep doing it for a couple of years, they're gonna keep learning how to do it, and then later on, who knows when they live on their own. They can do their own recycling, take their own garbage out of the house. And I used to do it when I was in elementary school, because I was in a Skills for Life class back in my grade 1 and 2 year. And then I started learning everything to the point where I didn't have to take it anymore. But everybody has different learning issues. When I was younger, when I was in kindergarten, everybody gets nervous when they start their first year of going somewhere like school, a job, or anywhere like that. Were you guys nervous when you first started here? No? Yeah. I saw somebody nodding no. But it's okay if people are. Most people are. I was nervous when I started kindergarten. I was nervous when I started high school. And I was nervous starting my first job at Lowe's. And that's where I worked part-time for the last 3 years. Just after my graduation, that was when I started my job at Lowe's. And I enjoy my job. And of course, everybody gets nervous when they start a new job. It's so true. Everybody learns in the future about their job. Usually after every couple days, they'll get used to their job and they'll keep learning. Everybody does make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes on, homework. Like not everybody can ace their homework. Not everybody can ace a test, but they learn from their mistakes. And not everybody can survive a full day at work successfully. Like I failed miserable times at my job, but then I learned from my mistakes. When I was in grade 4, I bullied a lot of students. And I didn't know why. It was just how my feelings were. Like I didn't understand much about how kids were with me because I used to feel embarrassed about having autism. Only because the other classmates I had over the years, they didn't like I told them that I have autism and I asked them if they did, but they said no. So except those that were in Skills for Life class. And every school has a Skills for Life class because there's tons of other students out there in the city of Nanaimo that don't have those type of learning professionalism things where they just can't do your homework like I was saying earlier, doing your tests and doing stuff for the city. And when I was in high school, everything improved. In grade 8, I actually met about 2 times more students than I did when I was in elementary school. And that was so interesting, and I wasn't expecting it. But then I realized that several other elementary schools feed into high schools. Like with this school, for example, you feed into quite a good amount of elementary schools. I think 3 or 4? 5 now? Well, Rutherford's elementary school shut down too, so you're down 1 school. So, but all these elementary schools feed into high school after your grade 7 year, and then you meet more students. The more students that feed in, the more friends you meet. And when I went to Wellington Secondary School, which was my high school, I met that similar amount of more students. And I didn't think that when I told people about my hobbies, and I can explain to you my hobbies, my main hobby I've done before is, back then, was actually performing music. I've been playing guitar for 13 years now. And back then, I still do a little bit, but when I was working on a lot of music in a professional studio, and I used to release them and onto CDs, and I give them out to students, and then people got so interested in me, and I thought everything's going to get so much better. And throughout the last 5 years of high school, everybody got so interested that every single school year I met more and more and more students because they are interested in what I have, autism and all that. Graduating high school was emotional too, but there's one other thing before I get to graduation I want to share is in grade 11 actually, I changed my life so completely to the point where I actually wanted to share people my experiences of my autistic life. Grade 11 came and it was halfway through the year. I didn't really decide, but I was trying to fall asleep, but I really couldn't. Like, have you guys had that thing before where you try to fall asleep, but you really couldn't? But you think about all these things in your mind before you fall asleep, of all the things that you did wrong which you could improve better. Has that happened? Yeah, it happens to everybody, and it really happened to me that one night. And I was thinking back to when I was telling you a few minutes ago about when I was bullying lots of kids. And I wanted to think, how can I do it better? Because it's difficult to resolve that issue. It's so difficult to resolve it. Until moments later, the next day, before I fell asleep, I said this one thing. When I go to school tomorrow, I'm going to go around to every student and apologize for what I did. And I felt emotional the next morning when I went to school. And I apologized to everybody, and half of them even said, like, you know, you don't really have to apologize. Everybody changes in life. But I said, no, I really need to. And when I said that, do you know what that means? I was wanting to mean it to them to actually prove that I wanted to improve better. So I was in tears because I wanted to show I wanted to change my life and be a better student. And then more people got interested in me as a good friend. Now I'm going to go back to grade 12. And it's such an emotional year for me. For the reason is because I met several friends over the last 5 years, half of them I don't even see anymore, half I still see. But the one question that comes into my mind, and it will come into your guys' brains when you guys graduate, is when will you see them next? When will you see all your friends from here and everywhere else in the school next? Because you don't know. Not many people will be in Nanaimo. Sometimes friends will move out of town. Some people may get into an accident and pass away. And I actually know 2 friends that were younger than me who actually passed away. And I haven't seen them since high school. So it's a hard the hard question to answer. And it's so difficult to answer it because you don't know. Nobody knows when you'll see everybody next. The most emotional part of my graduation actually was when I was actually at the grad ceremony. I actually was crying throughout my grad ceremony. I was not excited. Most people would be excited, but I wasn't. I was sitting way at the back row and put my head down for most of the ceremony until one moment happened. And surprisingly, I actually got a special award, which really got me emotional. And I wasn't expecting to win an award. It was like a big, monumental, surprising moment. And they called it the award the Tom Mason Wildcat Award. And the reason they called it the Tom Mason Wildcat Award was because there was a vice principal I had throughout the last several years of high school who actually was a teacher and vice principal at Wellington since until 2016 when he retired, the same time when I was graduating. And because he was at Wellington for 25 years as a teacher and vice principal, they wanted to make an award of his name to show how much he's done to the school. And they wanted to award a student that did that same thing, which is school spirit, leadership, and commitment to the school and community. And it turned out that I actually won it. Yeah, thanks for the clap, thank you. Yeah, and actually the most emotional part about it was when I went up on stage, I actually got standing ovation, which I was not expecting. I didn't expect any standing ovation at all. And that was the only time I was happy. After that, yeah.
Now, I know it's better not to ask you questions to interrupt you, but was it Mr. Lipcott that was your principal then?
Yes, Mr. Linta, yeah.
Okay, so sorry, but we'll save our questions for the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Just, I wanted to let these guys know it's better to save them for the end for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, also I can explain, Mr. Linta was my school principal throughout my grade 11 and 12 year, and Mr. Christensen was actually my vice principal in my grade 12 year. So I actually I know Mr. Christensen really well. But anyways, the moment when I won that award and when I sat back down, I was in so many emotions. It was like, almost like I won $1 million. It's what it felt like for me. But after that night, I just went home and I cried. I didn't know what to expect, and I also have a video which I don't have, unfortunately, but it is on my YouTube. I'll actually write this so you can put it down in your notes. So if you want to write that in your notes to see the YouTube video of it, if you guys haven't seen it before, it was taped at the Port Theater, and it was taped a couple of years ago, so that you can write that down. And a month after my graduation, that was when I got my first job at Lowe's, my first ever paid job, actually. But a paid job is myself working part-time and working a good amount of hours a week. It's something I really enjoy, and actually when I leave here, I'm heading straight to work, so I'll be working really hard today. But this year actually has been a big year for me because I actually met the love of my life. The end of February, I met this person on social media, and he basically was messaging me. Well, I messaged him, and I thought he knew me from my presentation because he randomly added me on Facebook. And at first, I thought he knew me from here, from last school year, because I was presenting here many times last school year. And then he told me, no, I've never even heard about this because I live in Duncan. So we kept talking, and I told him that I had autism. And he literally was like, is this for real? Like this, that's what he said in his mind was, is this for real? And then we kept talking every day. 2 months later, I asked him, would you be my boyfriend? And he said yes. I have brought him in here last school year one time, and we've been together now for 7 months. And that Christmas will be 8 months, so it's gonna be something I'm really excited to celebrate Christmas with him. And the best part about my boyfriend, his name is Adam Hill, by the way. He actually has autism too. And he actually has gone through almost the exact same thing as I have. I go over to Duncan quite often to see him almost every week. And sometimes he'll even come up to Nanaimo to visit. And actually this weekend I'm extremely excited because I'm gonna be going to Coquitlam with him for our first vacation. So I'm just extremely excited to take him on our first vacation this weekend. And if he was here right now, I bet you he'd be blushing right now. Trust me, he would be. But I'm just so glad to now, even since my grade 11 year, after I changed my life, I started to present about autism in my life. So I've been presenting for almost 5 years now. And going to schools and all this really makes a big difference. And I didn't think I could make a difference until the last 4 years.